A few of you guys have been asking for more Forester content, so today we are installing Diode Dynamics Stage Series 30-inch LED light bar. Now this uses their special TIR optics, available as a driving optic or flood optic, or a combination of both with either a 6000K white color temperature or a 2000K amber temperature. Obviously this is the amber color temperature. It is a combination of both the driving and flood optics. It has a peak beam intensity of 113,800 candela, which roughly translates to about 6,000 raw lumens of light output. So it's going to be the perfect addition to our high beams when we need more light. And the best thing I like about this particular light bar is that you don't need anything extra to install it. It actually sits behind the bumper on the OEM crash beam and fits this little gap right here perfectly, so you barely even know it's there. It looks OEM. So with all that being said and done, let's go ahead and pop the bumper off and get this thing installed. We're going to start on the underside of the bumper here. There are a total of 6 pop clips we'll need to remove, one by the wheel here, one holding the fender liner under the fog light bezel, and then one towards the center, and obviously 3 on the other side in the same location. So go ahead and pop those out. If you look in either of the wheel wells, right where the seam of the bumper is, there's going to be another pop clip. Go ahead and remove that one as well. On the top side, again, there are going to be 6 pop clips we need to remove, one by each of the headlights, and then 4 in the middle here, and then we are ready to pull the bumper off. Now that those pop clips are removed, we can start pulling the bumper off. You're going to want to grab it from the wheel well area here and pull out away from the car to pop the clips off, like so. Once those are popped off, we can then pull the bumper towards the front to pop out the clips under the headlight. One thing to note, if you do have fog lights or DRLs in your front bumper, you want to make sure to get those unplugged before you completely pull the bumper away and off of the car so you don't snag any cables. With the bumper cover out of the way, we now have access to the mounting points that we're going to use to install the light bar. So just under these foam pads here, you're going to see 2 slotted holes, and those are going to be our mounting points. I've already gone ahead and installed the mounting brackets onto our light bar. Pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to go into that. I did, however, leave them loose so that we can aim this, so do keep that in mind. Now we're going to go ahead and install this onto the car using the supplied hardware. Oh, damn it. Ugh. I've got the light bar mounted and roughly aimed where we want it. Obviously, you're going to want to do this before you put the bumper cover back on, because once it's back on, you don't really have access to those bolts, and you don't want to have to go back and forth taking your bumper on and off, so make sure you do that. And once that's all ready and good to go, we can start working on getting this wired up. Now, we're going to be using Diode Dynamics light bar harness. It's going to make it super easy and convenient, so I highly recommend you guys pick one of these up with the light bar. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this, but like I said, it's going to make it a lot easier. And what we're going to have to do is find a way to route this to the inside of the car for the button so you can turn it on and off, and then find a place to mount the relay, and then route some wiring to the battery as well, and then get everything zip tied up and tidy, and then we should be set. I've got the light bar wired up. Now I can show you guys how I routed everything, starting from the light bar itself, which has the harness coming from the passenger side. I followed along the crash beam here and zip tied it in these 2 holes, and then went towards the driver's side under the headlight area, which is where I have the connector zip tied, and then I have a bundle of the excess harness zip tied right by the washer fluid reservoir. From there, I followed this hard line all the way back to the brake fluid area, which is where I have the relay mounted. So I've got the relay mounted right here through a pre-existing hole that I found a bolt and washer that I had that fit perfectly there. I routed the wiring for the battery down through here and then mounted those to the terminals. Now, routing the button inside the car from the engine bay is going to be the hardest part of the install. What you need to do is find these field lines and follow them all the way back to the firewall, and that grommet that holds them in place is the same one we're going to use to route our harness inside the car. Now, you need to unplug the button from the main harness, and then on the main harness, you need to remove the white connector, remove the wires from the white connector using a pick like this one, because if you leave that connector on there, it's too big and it's not going to fit through that grommet. Now, it's really hard to see in the engine bay because it's tucked back in there, but once you have the button off and then the connector off, we're going to head into the car and I'm going to show you guys from the inside what you're going to be looking for. We're under the dash on the driver's side, and this is where you're going to see this opening here. You need to cut the carpet material up a little bit so that you can access that grommet where you see this wire coming out of. And then once that is up and out of the way, just tuck it behind one of the wires or something up there. You need to pull the grommet out towards the inside of the vehicle and then go back in the engine bay and then feed the wiring through that hole, and then cut one of the nipples on the grommet so you can feed the wiring through, and then put it back in place, and we can work on getting the button in place. With the wire routing basically done now, we just need to get this panel off so that we can drill a hole through here, which I've already done, so you can mount your button. What you need to do is pry off this panel right here. Just a slot on the bottom for you to stick either a panel pry tool or a flathead screwdriver in, and then we can just pry that out. And then there is a Phillips head screw on the bottom we need to remove. Set that aside. And we can just pull this panel out from the bottom here. Now there are some connections on the back that you'll want to disconnect. There we go. And then on the back side, there is one Phillips head screw holding in that panel, and then we can pop it out by just depressing the tabs. Once you've got that hole drilled for the button, obviously you're going to need to take the harness off of the actual button. We can finally press this button into place, like so, and then we just need to reconnect the harness on the back side, get everything put back together, zip tie the harness up under the dash, and we're good to go. All right, guys, I got everything reinstalled on the car. Super impressed with the fit and finish of this light bar, and the harness made it really convenient to install. Like I said, the hardest part was routing the wiring into the interior, but really, once you know what you're looking for, it isn't that big of a deal. I actually lied. This particular light bar is all driving optics instead of the combo that I mentioned before, so I do apologize about that. But I'm going to leave you guys off with some output shots. I'm going to turn off the lights, point it at our garage door so you guys can see that. If you guys are interested in this, I will leave links in the description. If you guys have any questions or video suggestions, leave them in the comment section down below. I will see you guys next time.